Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make a polymer. And this polymer is going to resemble something that you can play with called silly putty. And you can make it out of things that you can find in your home, like Elmer's glue and borax or washing soda. So what I've got here is a 9-ounce cup that I got at the dollar store. And you can take a ruler and measure about a 1/2 inch from the bottom of the cup. Now this one already happens to have a line that's about a 1/2 inch from the bottom, but measure 1/2 inch from the bottom and make a mark. And then what you're going to do is add glue to the cup to that mark. So I'm going to add some glue to the cup until it gets to that mark. And my glue is getting low, so it's taking a few minutes to get to the mark. Alright, so I've added about a glue to about a 1/2 inch in the cup. And now what I want to do is add a little bit of water to that glue just to make it a little thinner. So I've got a measuring cup just with plain water, and I'm going to just add a teaspoon of water to the glue. And then I'm going to use a spoon, a plastic spoon, except instead of using the spoon end, I'm going to use the flat end or the handle end. And I'm just stirring my glue until I make a glue mixture. So now I've got the glue is all stirred up, and now I want to make my borax solution. So I've got another teaspoon measuring spoon, and I've measured out a cup of water. And I'm going to add a heaping teaspoon of borax to the water. So I've got there was a big clump of borax. Well, we'll put the clump in there. So you want to just make a borax solution. Solution is when you dissolve one thing in another. And I'm making a solution of borax. And all the borax may not dissolve, that's okay. Some of it may stick to the bottom or stay on the bottom, settle to the bottom. That's okay. So now what I'm going to do is add some borax to the glue that is in the cup. Now, if you want to make your silly putty a certain color, you can just add a drop or two of food coloring and make it whatever color that you want. So I'm going to start out with 3 teaspoons of the borax mixture. So we've got 3 teaspoons of the borax solution, and now I'm going to stir the glue, and it's going to get real clumpy and start to clump and stick to the spoon. You can kind of move it around. And this is almost done. I think I'm going to add another teaspoon of borax solution. It might be a little bit wet to start out with. And so now it's pretty stuck to the spoon. And what I'm going to do is grab a bowl and pour this out into the bowl. You can see I've got a little extra solution. And as you play with it, it'll get a little bit harder. You might want to mix it around in the bowl. You can always add a little bit more of the borax solution. Got my mixture in the bowl, and I'm going to take it out. I've got a paper towel over here that I can put it on and dry it off just a little. You don't want to leave it on the paper towel too long, or it will stick to the paper towel. And so now I'm peeling it off of the paper towel, and I can play with it. And don't worry if you get some on your hands, it easily washes off. But I'm gonna make it into a ball, and it's very bouncy and slippery, so it's still a little bit sticky, but it's got a very unique consistency. It feels very rubbery. So it kind of bounces when you stick it to things. And then I'm going to show you how you can peel things off of newspaper. But before I do that, right now I've got a ball, and I'm going to put it on the table and stop filming for a minute, and I'm going to go wash my hands. Okay, so I've got my my Silly Putty, and you'll notice it's real bouncy. It's kind of fun. It feels real rubbery, and you can, stretch it. If you pull too hard, it breaks right in half. But it's fun to play with, but you still can reform it back into a bowl or a ball. I want you to look at my bowl though, and notice that in the bowl there's a little bit of the Silly Putty still stuck to the bottom, which I could get out, and then there's some liquid in the bottom. That's the borax mixture. So don't be afraid to pour a little bit of the borax, and you can work it around like so. Make sure that you've really completed the reaction. So, and then you can dry it off a little bit if you need to, but it will dry off in as you play with it in your hands too. So one thing when I was little that we used to like to do with Silly Putty was make prints of newspaper, and it is possible to do it with this Silly Putty, or with this polymer that you made. So if you flatten it out, you can put it on a piece of newspaper and peel it off, and you get a print of the newspaper. And then this will usually wipe off or rinse off. If you rinse it off with water, notice how I'm wiping it off. And then you can do it again, or you can play with it. The nice thing about this is if you get a plastic bag and put it in the plastic bag, you can keep it in there for several days. And it's kind of fun to watch what happens, because it's not really a solid, it's a fluid, and so as it sits, it will take the shape of the bag, and eventually it will flatten out and take up the room in the bag. So this was my demonstration on how to make a Silly Putty substance using Elmer's glue and borax.